Good morning, Casey. Let's see, making sure all my sounds are good. Thanks for joining me today. Those levels look good. I think we're all set here. Posting my link to Patreon. I'd like to thank my patrons for keeping me in my chair full time. I get so much reading done. It's awesome. It's awesome. A little news. Some of you have ordered books and you don't have them yet. I sent out a bunch yesterday, and there's been a COVID backlog basically that keeps happening with the publisher, and I'm really sorry about that. Nothing is more important to me in my daily life than book orders. I just want you to know that it's literally my top priority. I freaking love writing, and it bums me out that there's been such a delay on the book orders. So I just want anyone who's listening who's ordered a book, I want you to know that me doing this stream is not slowing down your book at all. It's me waiting on the publisher. And I'm posting to Facebook now. You can order those books much faster through Amazon. I can't sign them for you. Not that that should be important to you or not. I'm just telling you that is a quicker way to do that, and you can of course download them instantly on Amazon Kindle. But some of you have gone out of your way to order from me because you know it helps me out, and I just want to say thank you. And I'm sorry it's taken so long to get those out. I can't wait to. I'm really looking forward to this. There's actually a back order. April 18th. There was supposed to be a next batch here. It's still not here yet. It is coming though. Thank you so much, Callie. You've been so supportive. Thanks for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Good day. Good. Hello, Magnetic Evidence. Good to see you again. Even, Catherine, Bob, Mike. I'm Tammy. Typhoid Mush, Matt Perisco. Hey, Maddie. And Casey first in. All right. The topic for today is decryption and encryption, and that ties into secret societies. And it also ties into shame, believe it or not. I'm going to be, I've been on this kick lately. Oh, wait, I should show myself. Not that that's like the best thing, but hey, hi. Not that I've been on this streak lately where I've been pushing a lot of things that people would call, evil. And I've tried to explain what evil is and stuff like that, but I know that it doesn't help when I keep picking topics like this. And today I'm actually going to be talking about crypts and encryption and decryption. And my goal is to try and convince some of you that actually they're part of the fabric of our universe. Our universe, actually. And were it not for lies, I don't think that we would actually be able to have a shared reality. What I'm getting at is, hey, Missouri Bear, what I'm getting at here is kind of a hard pill to swallow, and I don't think anyone should be swallowing pills, red or black or white or whatever. I think we should just drink more water. But the expression still remains. There are benefits to encryption and decrypting, to hiding things, to having secrets. And those go back to your inner personality. They go back to your family. They go back to your tribe. There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. And I understand that considering I've just told you guys how Lucifer is part of the wheel of life, for me to also now push encryption is probably might be too much for some of you. But I think I'm kind of doing those people a favor because I'm eliminating all doubt from your perspective over the red flags that might come up as a result of listening to me. I've told many of you to prune my lips. I don't say that enough. You should prune my lips even more. In fact, yesterday, I posted a meme on Twitter that was totally not true. It was completely false. When I posted it, I did not know, but that's still my fault because I didn't take the time to cross-reference and go back and see the photographs and what they were. Basically, what you're seeing around the country is a bunch of different news stories that are referencing the same deaths, and all the deaths are being equated to COVID. And this is happening all over the place. I happened to grab one mem, which was enough that was actually not the case. It was a guy that had been written about in 2 separate papers, and so they wrote different obituaries for him. And it looked more nefarious than it was. And when I posted that, I did an experiment. Let me show you what I did here. I don't even know why I need to show you this. It's a 69-year-old retired Milwaukee police lieutenant died from COVID-19. That's one. And then another University of Memphis professor dies from coronavirus, reports say. This is the same picture of the same guy, but one sells him as a Milwaukee police lieutenant. The other sells him as a professor. Anyone who's used to all the lies that we get in the news would see that right away and go, aha, they're lying. But in this case, they were not. They actually were not lying. If anyone was lying, it would be me. And I didn't know I was lying, but why would that change it? Why would me not knowing that I was lying make that okay? Why is our intent considered more important than what we actually do? For example, if it was not your intent to poison the blood-brain barrier of a child when you gave them aluminum, why is it okay to inject aluminum in them? Why does intent clear us of what we do? I think it doesn't. I think that intent is, as I've said before, most of our decisions are adrenally based. They're emotionally based. We're pre-predicting the calories that it's going to take to pull off a certain action. And those calories dictate what we're going to do. And then we use our brain to come in and justify the decision we made. We try and build up a shell around it to defend it in case anyone comes to attack it. This is a crucial part of us forming our psyche. There's nothing even wrong with it. It's simply a requirement for us to survive today. I say survive because this is very much a psychic battlefield. All of us are on a psychic battlefield as we take our ideas out. And the only reason why we have that psychic battlefield is because of the quickening. This idea of the Highlander movie that there can be only one. As long as we are going to maintain that that's the way it is, we are going to always have a life or death situation with our beliefs, our notions, and everything that we do and say. In fact, this life or death notion isn't just poppycock. It goes back into civilization. If you look at secret societies themselves, were literally formed so that these people would not be burned at the stake for having heretical ideas. People find ideas damaging. They find them vorpal. They find them deadly. And I think we should unpack why that is. I hate the word unpack. I shouldn't have said that, but we're dealing with decryption, and I'm probably going to say that word a couple times again. It's just someone who would pack things all the time would say that. And anyway, there's actually nothing wrong with packing. Actually, you're about to see, or you might see. Depends on how you're going to go. Before I want to go on, I want to quickly talk about yesterday. I wrote we did a lecture about Ken, his magnetic dome as a glober. He was describing the flat Earth, and I found that fascinating. And I saw some posts in the comments that made total sense. They were basically explaining that Ken has ridiculed them in the past for suggesting a flat Earth. In fact, he uses ridicule on a normal basis. Normal meaning everyone uses ridicule in the same way, and he's no different than that. That ridicule is actually not bad. That ridicule is an electrical field. You form that electrical field around yourself because you want to protect your ideas. And this is what I really want to get into the meat today of protecting of your ideas. Your idea is a child. It's a living entity. In fact, it requires your own pranic calories to keep giving this idea food. You might have an idea that you win the lottery, and so every day you will get up and you will buy a lottery ticket, and you become so obsessed with it that the day that you miss the ticket, you might leave at 10:30 at night and go out in a rainstorm and get soaking wet in your sweatpants and flip-flops and run into the 7-Eleven because you have to have that lottery ticket that day. That could be the one day that you missed, and that would completely destroy all that work you did. You've chronically invested time in this idea that you're going to win the lottery. You do the same when you have a plant. When you are growing, here's a lottery of my little jade guy. He's getting there, but he's got a long way to go. And if I miss buying him a lottery ticket, if I miss buying him water, it could be disaster for him. It could be the ending of Sir Jade a lot. And that is what we are doing with our ideas at all times. Additionally, our ideas create a battlefield for us to negotiate and live on. This battlefield is good. I think it's healthy because it encourages our ideas to become strong or to die, as the wheat and the chaff. These are all part of the negotiations we make by even having an idea, is that I want to take this plant, this idea out into the world and see if it survives. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, I've learned something from that. The loss is part of my curriculum, my self-curriculum. It's no different than guessing at what makes traffic go and learning to maybe one day close your eyes and just walk across traffic and still be safe. These are dangerous times. The ideas that we have are supposed to cost us. If they didn't have cost to them, there'd be no game. It'd be like your parents playing with your Monopoly money after you go to bed at night and pretending like it had value, and then finding joy rolling around in the Monopoly money naked on the bed and going, oh my God, we're so rich. Oh, wait, what was that? The kids are up. Quick, hide the money again. It's without realness, without something to break, without a fragility to life, none of this would be worth what it is now. None of us would also have that same sort of pang that we have, like Ken has, to put up that force field to say, if you think flat Earth, before you even get in my view, before I can see the white in your eyes, I've created this force field that will automatically smear you with tar and feathers as you approach me. Again, this is not me picking on Ken. I do this too. All of us do this. It's part of our outer shell. And if we have a strong enough ego, we actually have enough pranic energy to form that bubble as far away as we can. We can dismiss anyone based on their ideas, on their cosmology, on their color, their skin, on their education level, on the way they're dressed, on their haircut, on the draw in their accent, whether or not they fucking use fucking cuss words too much. It's all of these are things that we can or cannot use to build this shield up around us that doesn't even come close to hitting our idea yet, right? It's not even an attack on the idea. It's a trespass onto our perimeter. And we have these force fields set up, and the tighter your sphincter is, the more money you have, the more educated you are, the higher up on a pedestal you are, the stronger and the more numerous force fields you're going to have wrapped around you. It's a necessary part of it. I'm not trying to imply that I'm gaining fame in what I'm doing. I'm a small account. However, I'm now up to a lot more subscribers than I had a few months ago. And I'm noticing that with that comes a lot more Molotov cocktails. I get people that are purposely trying to gut me regardless of the idea I have. And it's breeding that pedestal force field inside of me. It's something that is bothering me a lot because I'm seeing that I'm losing my human sonar's permeability to get through if I'm going to be constantly vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. Luckily, I can just mute them, and then I feel like we both won because they get to still hold up their force field against James, because what they're hearing is James talked about Lucifer a week ago. Oh my fucking God, I'm gonna have to come on here every morning and right when he ends the stream, I have to be the first comment in that needs to tell people James needs to be on meds and he's mentally disturbed and all the other bullshit. Some of you guys might see those comments still. I don't. It doesn't even bother me that you do, because it's part of the force field matrix that we all have. He's going to give him that, and plus you're going to see, wow, look how expensive it is for James to even feel this way. That hopefully is a sign of not truth, but of commitment, of the desire to stay committed to these ideas. If there's one thing I'm used to, it's watching people ridicule, or try and use ridicule, I should say, to silence you. That is a big tool that all of us use, including myself. Okay, cool, I already sent that. Hence encryption, hence secret societies, hence crypt. Most of us, when we hear the word crypt, we think of the crypt keeper, and we automatically assume, well, this has to be evil. There's nothing good about encryption or encrypting something. But it's profoundly important. A popcorn kernel has husk after husk after husk. It's probably not keratin, but it's like your fingernails. We have keratin layers that form on top of layers that form on top of layers. Your epidermis is one of many dermises, right? There's like sublayers, right? Subcutaneous, I don't know my skin layers, but you guys get it. We build up these different layers around us, and then on top of our epidermis we have hair. That's an electrical layer. It's an electrical field layer that gives us another sense of protection before someone touches me. If they touch my hair, what little I have left, I feel the electrical pulses all around my body. In fact, if I was to get really, really in tune with myself, I could close my eyes and I could actually feel a hand touching me before it gets there. There's a static charge that's built up that I can sense and use. This is no different than saying, well, flat earthers are dickholes, or Zionists are piss ants, or whatever it is that field's going to be. We have many. We have multiple fields. Anyone from the South is a racist. That's a field that the government's given us to install, to say, hey, if anyone from the South, they're super racist, and that's just the way it is. All of these things are used to create this identity inside of us, this id inside of us. It's not even an id, actually. It's okay, so there's three parts. You're told there's three parts to your personality: the id, the super id, and the ego. I think that's all bullshit. I think it's disassociation. I think that when you start to turn yourself into a trinity, you're going to end up believing in reptilians, whether you like it or not. You're not going to be able to help it, because if you're going to start buying into this idea of these fissured, separate entities competing for the reins of your horse, you're not going to feel like a person. You're going to feel like a caravan, and this caravan's going to really cause you trouble as you try and integrate. Anything bad that happens to you, you're going to find that it's super convenient to blame the id or the super id or the ego. It's basically all a sham. This is the same person who insisted that everyone had a secret obsession with having sex with their parents. The same person who insisted that although he didn't necessarily bash the ego, he provided the framework where so many could use his words to bash the ego. I'm talking about Freud here, that the male Freud, not the actual brilliant one. That there was a sense of validity given to all these different electrical fields. And I'm here to tell you that disassociation is bad, but it's also necessary. It's a vital piece of you forming who you are. When you were young, someone told you were wrong. Maybe a parent, maybe someone at school. I didn't know what the word masturbate meant. And Happy Craft at the Signal Mountain Pool told me that I should jump off the high dive and yell, I masturbate. And I was young. I didn't know what that meant, and so I did that. I was kicked out of the pool that day. I had to go home. I had to take my bike home. It was very sad. It was squishy, still wet. I remember that there's one hill that it was easier to walk your bike up that hill, and I remember feeling the squishiness of how wet I was as I was probably crying and pushing my bike up the hill. And again, it came back to intent. My intent was not to offend anyone, but here I was screaming how I masturbated as I jumped off the pool. That was enough to get me kicked out. But more importantly, it was enough for me to form a psychic barrier around myself. I was able to go home and create a shell that no one else could come in. The shame that I experienced that day in front of all those people being let out, still not knowing what masturbate meant, I asked the lifeguard, what does that mean? And he wouldn't tell me, which I found even more insulting, because it's like, if you're going to teach me a lesson, we almost caught a guy there. If you're going to teach me a lesson, at least educate me along the way. But no, lifeguards, they don't do that. They're not there to define words for you. They are simply there to punish you if you use the wrong one on the high dive when everyone's trying to enjoy themselves. Happy Craft, man, that was a dick move, dude. Pretty funny, but still kind of a dick move. When I went home, I created a new barrier of keratin around myself, a barrier of keratin that was not there before. That was the shame that I used was the electrical field that said no one in my house is going to know what happened to me today at the pool. I would not be telling my mother what happened to me or what I did. I did ask her what masturbate meant. She told me that I needed to look it up. And I looked it up, and it didn't make any sense at all to me, which made it even worse, because I was even more confused over how a word that made no sense to me at all could be so dangerous. But this was a crucial part of my experiment, because I was able to build up that outer husk. What I'm getting to, ladies and gentlemen, is that I encrypted that event. I encrypted it. I blocked it up in a hash, and I used the force of that transaction as a portcullis, as an outer perimeter, a gate to stop others from coming in. And that secret was actually vital to who I am. It allowed me to build trust with something that would actually return trust. I lost my trust in Happy Craft. I lost my trust in the lifeguard. I lost my trust in my mom to explain to me adequately what a word was. But I gained that trust in myself. I knew that regardless of how dissonant the world was, I had my own back, and that was absolutely crucial to me forging ahead. When you create that husk, what you're really doing is you're creating a Faraday cage around yourself, a place to electrically trap a charge and use it as a force field. Anyone who comes into your Faraday cage, you get to use the word evil. We've talked about this. You get to assign someone as a threat. When you call something a threat, you no longer have your foot on the gas of your compassion. You actually have it on the clutch more, and you're more likely to turn away. You're more looking for excuses to turn away because you've gauged a threat coming. And this is vital. If we didn't have this, we would be gutted like fish all the time. I would have gone back to the pool the next day and yanked on my wiener as I jumped, and just not knew about that, not really understood what was wrong. It's these shame quotients that start to make us create our own transactions in our mind. We simulate. What is the bad parts of this? What is the good parts of this? What is the danger that might occur when this happens? What sort of reward could I earn by yelling I masturbate as I jump off the high dive? Could there be such a reward? Should I at 49 go to a pool now and try that? The answer is no, but that's only because of my ability to unpack, to decrypt that force field and know what it means to my adrenals, to understand that. Anyone else on the outside wouldn't be able to see the same sort of transaction in there, although you're hearing me tell the story, so I think you guys could empathize with it. But we don't see that in everyone else. None of us sees what happened to Ken Wheeler growing up. None of us knows what was necessary, what events in his life caused him to create that same force field of using ridicule to prevent anyone from approaching him with an idea that's so dangerous. The amount of ridicule you get for an idea is directly proportional to the amount of how dangerous it is to the person that you're sharing it with. These are a congruence. It's if you are a wrecking ball against a thin brick wall, you're going to be ridiculed long before you bring the wrecking ball into the playground to start to swing it. But if you are a ping pong ball up against a cinder block wall, you can bring as many ping pong balls as you want. The wall is not going to ridicule for that. The wall's not even going to notice that it's happening. So what Ken is really doing to some of you is he's giving you vital feedback. He's telling you just how dangerous this idea is, just how crucial it is for him to apply that force field to you. I want to just point out real quick that was a comment that happened in the past with someone with Ken. He could not feel that way now. I don't know Ken at all. We've never spoken. So I don't like talking about someone that I don't know. I can't help but just use him as an example because that's what we spoke about yesterday. But really what I'm trying to get to is this idea of encryption. This idea that encryption is actually pretty important. It's necessary for us, not only to solve the world, but to solve ourselves. In fact, that's what blockchain is. And oh man, most of you guys are going to hate this idea of blockchain, of talking about blockchain. It's such a scary topic because you hear the word machine, you hear the words, you hear the word block and chain. It's terrible. In fact, if you look at what the blockchain can do, it should be scary. It should be something that worries you. But there's more to it than that. It's not just a fear. Sorry, guys, I was thinking you could catch a hummingbird right there. Blockchain is more than that. And we need to talk about that because I want you to understand. What I'm trying to equate for you guys is the force field around your ego that you have when you use ridicule or you use anything else is a form of encryption. Ken is encrypting the idea that flat Earth is challenging to him. He's encrypting it into a hash, and that hash is ridicule. That's what I'm trying to convey today. On the screen, you see input and output. This is the essence of blockchain. Basically, on the left, you've got cat, and on the output of the hash, cat is the word cat, a 3-letter word, is turned into 93G56GTF229HBNOOR45SKTRPBS59SO9R. It's wow, right? You're like, wow. And then a white cat is outside. That's the next input. And even though a white cat is outside is a lot longer than the word cat, it's encoded into roughly the same amount of characters. Actually, it is the same amount of characters. JS03BBSTG094R6S1Z8MG05FGT3 SBA920B32BSAP7. That is a white cat outside. That's how you say that. Now, that is just encryption, what I'm describing there. That is just the word encryption. To encrypt something is to hash it. Hash is an algorithm that's run on a computer. It requires a key, a salt. Benjamin Balderson would freak over this. It requires a salt. You actually give it salt before it alchemizes into oil. That salt is a word that you know, a word that everyone else can know. Your salt could be masturbate. And every time you apply that salt into your crypt, it's using that salt as a tumbler to mix up the word cat, or to mix up the word a white cat is outside, or a white cat is inside. And you will get these different output hashes based on 2 factors, not one. The first factor is the actual data itself, the word cat. The second is that salt. It is the salt that you've given, that you've mined for this purpose. If I was to, a computer will decrypt something or encrypt something. It will take your word cat, it will tumble it together with your salt, and it will give you this hash key that no one can break. unless they have the salt. And even if they have the salt, they actually can't see it. It's weird. What they can do is they can verify it. They can't really see it, they can verify it. And that's really what blockchain is all about. It's a society built on secrets in real time. It's a society that's agreed, we're going to have one checking account. The entire world is going to now run on one checking account. And just like you can log into your checking account and see who you wrote a check to and for how much and when it cleared and who got it, now we have a worldwide checking account. Anyone that uses this form of currency now has a register in that checkbook. All of us have that register, but it's such a huge register that it takes a while for us to look at every single transaction. When everyone has the same checking account, something wonderful happens. For the very first time, you can actually resolve your transactions. You can actually determine which transaction were legit, which ones came first, which ones came last, and more importantly, which one of them were fraudulent, which one of them involved counterfeit. This dollar that James claimed to pay never actually was ever born. I know that because I can find the first salt and go back to the next salt and the next salt and the next salt. Hashes are built on top of each other. One hash is the hash of the next hash, is the hash of the next hash. So imagine opening your checkbook and all you really see is a balance. All your transactions are there, but they're like BBR19007GO2TSI52. You don't actually know what's inside that transaction. If you wanted to verify it, you would have to pay someone. Yes, you would have to pay someone to come into your checkbook and verify that transaction. And what they would do is they would unpack that transaction and see if it was actually valid. See, was it based on another transaction? And if it was, what was that transaction based on? What was that transaction based on? And it's the length of the hash itself that actually gives you a valid checker without you having to unpack it. In other words, because of each hash has been verified, it's laid in a stack, it's blocked on top of each other in a long chain, and that is used to create a new system, a system where everyone can basically rely on the checking account being real or not. This is only valid, don't worry, this is not a big discussion on blockchain, I swear it's not. In fact, we're about to be off the subject entirely, but this is the one part that's important. In order for it to be verified, you're going to have to use a central, I use the word central here loosely, you're going to have to use a central group of decoders, of decryptors, that are working in unison. They're competing for the right to verify your transactions. And that really is ultimately what you're seeing happen around you right now. We are arguing over which form of currency is the best. Some people like blockchain to be decentralized. I'm one of those people. A decentralized blockchain would mean that I could verify transactions, or you could verify transactions. And we would use the power of our computer to verify those transactions. It's a shitload of math, mostly your video cards, processing it. It's doing a lot of cross-checking, basically. And it's asking, are you my mother? Are you my mother? Are you my mother? And every time it asks, the blockchain's telling it, yes, 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 yes. As soon as it says no, the entire chain from that point up is broken. It's considered invalid. It's honor among thieves is what blockchain really is. It's none of us are going to trust each other to see what the transaction is, but all of us are going to trust each other that we all have the same tools to verify it. In fact, when one person verifies a transaction, it's only going to be valid if enough other people verify it. As a decentralized chain, that makes sense, but when you get into a centralized blockchain, and this will be the last paragraph about blockchain, you really get into trouble because now you have the same group of people verifying the same things. This is something we've had in government since day one. So to claim blockchain is here to help us, but then push forward a centralized blockchain is literally to not have blockchain help us. We have, again, played the quickening. We've centralized all our power. There can be only one. And that's what's happening right now. If anyone is to, we are out of the blockchain tunnel. Everyone come back. We are out of the blockchain tunnel now. If anyone has ever watched Donald Trump speak on YouTube, you will notice that every single stream comes from a station called Fox Phoenix. or phoenix. It's always got the word phoenix in it every single time. This is part of the architecture, the magic that we speak about that's running in our world, the symbolism. Since 1988, The Economist has said a global currency is coming, and they've called it the Phoenix. It's a picture of a phoenix on the cover, and that phoenix is our new dollar. In fact, if you look at Kazakhstan, the city of Kazakhstan, you will see that that the entire city is laid out based on what is happening to our economy. There is a gutting taking place that is unfolding. There's a magic to that phoenix because the dollar is here to perish. The dollar. This is why the economy was shut down. It had nothing to do with COVID, although COVID is a psyop in and of itself. The economy was shut down. That's the goal. That's why all of us had to close, because the economy had to be shut down. You have to kill the bull. You have to slaughter the bull, and that's what Trump was brought to do. A long time ago, he was said, if you want to be president, here's what you got to slaughter the bull. And he's like, I will do that. A long time ago, probably. I don't know how long, but probably a long time ago. The elite have a long oar in the water. Their destinies decided really long before they're born. It's no different than a racehorse being sent out to pasture, to stud, to have babies. Those babies already have a future. We don't even know what they look like, what color they are. But they're going to be used in a way to race or to breed others. Elite are the same way. These are not people that have free will, not like you think. They exercise free will over their future generations. Ivanka Trump's future was determined by Donald, so they still have free will, but it's more stretched out. It's more broadcasted up ahead. And that's what we're seeing now, is the rise of the phoenix. So many of us have been a part of this ritual where whether or not we wanted to, is meaningless. This is the big leagues, and these people are playing for keeps. These are long goals that we've had for a long time. In fact, here you go. This is the Economist cover. This was on. It looks like it's saying. The Economist was actually in the 1988 cover. Sorry, this is just the image I had pulled up. I was predicting that on October 10th, 2018, we would see a big bump in the market as a ritual show that the Phoenix is coming. And we did. That was a giant drop. It actually dropped to the burning point of sulfur, by the way. Could have been coincidence, but man, it was right there on that day, too. It's pretty weird. There's one. Look at that ass on that hummingbird. Freaking love those things. There's a joke about look at the ass on the hummingbird. You're like, he's sexualizing hummingbirds. Yeah, that's what makes it funny, because I was sexualizing a hummingbird. It's funny. Come on. This is all part of this system. They're prepping you for this system. And look, it's a phoenix. It's actually an eagle that now has a crown. The same fleur-de-lis crown. The three heads has now been crowned on top. This ritual's been in play for a long time. COVID-19 has been in play for a long time. The whole goal has always been we have to kill the economy so we can introduce something new. That new is encrypted money. It is the blockchain. It is coming whether you want it to or not. Actually, if you don't want it to come, you can have it not come. We are seeing right now that anti-Babylon, Nolibab, is a beautiful place. Many of us are learning to grow our own food now. We're seeing the value of the soil. We're taking necessary steps to get there. And that will truly be our own organic blockchain. We will develop our own system of money. We already have that now. We've just been too laxed and lulled to use it. That's why it's the best apocalypse ever, guys. All of these things that it's making us do are really good, important things. Things that truly help us. And that's beautiful. Now, encrypting something, as we've said, is to tumble it away so it can't be used. We have crypts. We keep crypts. We store our family bones in crypts. We encrypt them. We place them in safe places. We have time capsules that we bury. We have safety deposit boxes. We have secrets. We don't tell each other certain things. This is all the same energy. It's part of decrypting something, of hiding it from ourselves. It's not bad to hide something, believe it or not. That's how you forge your personality. If you didn't have your own notions that were ridiculed by others, you would never have an inner shell that you can keep shellacking over with ridicule. As more people ridicule you, you're using that energy to create the field and make it stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Eventually that husk will either break or it will burst a new seed, but this is all a vital part of it. Secrets are important for creating who you are. In fact, if we have time, I want to get into how shame and fetishes are actually a really important, vital part of this. But before we get there, I want to take this from the microcosm of you and briefly talk about the secret society portion of this. Because as you're surrounded in a world where everyone wants to wear COVID masks, you cannot help it but create a secret society among your friends, people that do not wear COVID masks. You have formed an alliance with them. Just as you personally inside your psyche have formed a shellac shell to protect yourself from others, so too is your tribe created the same shell to protect you from other people too. That is a form of hiding. You are hiding in a way, but also you formed your own tribe. You formed cohesion, and that's really important. This is really the birth of secret societies, guys. This is really the birth of, I'm talking about secret societies. I'm talking about like Luxor Temple secret societies. I'm talking about the Temple of Man. I'm talking about Herodotus and Plato and Aristotle and Socrates and the initiations that they had that are still around today. These same sort of secret societies are creating a mega organism. And those mega organisms, just like you would have that secret to forge yourself, so too will this mega organization have its own secret to build cohesion. I've always preached against secret societies. I think they're vitally dangerous. I've always called them evil. I still think they are. However, I'm working on applying compassion to what they are and what's important. And I saw something yesterday that struck me as important, an important part of secret societies. And in order for me to explain that, I've had to say all this first. I had to lay out a groundwork to talk about how encryption is actually not a bad thing. It's very similar to a hammer. You're going to use it for good or for bad, depending on it. Same for you having secrets. If your daughter had her first period and you went to pick her up from school and she told you about it and she cried, she was ashamed. On your way home, you forged that same bond with her. You're not going to tell her father or her brother. It's something that's happened between you two. It's forged a bond. So even though it was a tragedy, it's been used as a form of nurturing too. So as you see, the secret itself is not intrinsically bad. It's just as effective. It depends on who it is. It's just like the apocalypse, guys. Are you going to take the apocalypse like Richie from Boston? Are you going to say the sky's falling and therefore see the sky falling? Or are you going to look at the apocalypse and say, hey, this is an uncovering. This is a mass decryption. All of our hash keys are being revealed. That sounds pretty cool, right? Maybe the sky isn't falling. Maybe the ground is raising. I don't know, whatever the opposite of that is. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I don't need to be afraid of the apocalypse. Maybe instead I need to realize this is a pretty cool thing. I can do a lot with this. There's a lot that can be happening on a daily basis as this happens. You could start streaming, for example. You could start planting a garden. You could realize that homeschooling is actually pretty sweet. You could work from home. You could quit your job. Or you could be completely convinced that the jackboots are coming and that you need to hide in your house. You need to store a lot of beans or whatever it is. I'm not saying either of those are wrong or right. I'm saying that your approach to them is completely of your own. It's going to be based on your own intent and what you think the intent is of someone else versus actually measuring the actions of what's happening. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're going to be obsessed with the intent of the apocalypse, you're going to miss what the apocalypse is actually doing. Either way, whether you're pro-apocalypse and think the intent's bad, or whether you're anti-apocalypse and think the intent's good, the intent is distracting you from the ground, what's actually happening on the ground. Like what it is that's unfolding before you and how that could be used either to your advantage or against your advantage. Now, secret societies are secret. And I realize that's a dumb thing to say, but they're secret. And with that secrecy comes a narcissism. We are the chosen people. We are the ones who have the secret handshake. We are the ones that meet in secret at night. We are the Dead Poet Society. We are this. We are that. It's narcissism comes with secret society. That is a necessary part of it. If you're going to keep a secret, you're going to be a narcissist in public when you're around someone else. To hold a secret is to hold power over someone, believe it or not, especially if that secret has shame in it. That's why so many secret societies rely on shame. It's an important function to their initiation. If you've been in a fraternity or a sorority, you've already encountered this. I was in a fraternity for like 8 months, and I had to quit because of actually I had to quit because of religious differences. At the very end, everyone, you didn't know this on the front end, but at the very end, everyone had to say a certain thing that I wasn't comfortable saying, and I was labeled as a weird guy because I wouldn't do something as petty as not say something. It was silly. No one actually threw me out. It was just became clear that I wasn't going to be able to fit in there. It wasn't part of it. And before I went, I noticed that one of my fraternity brothers was actually lying to people. He was we were playing with a Ouija board, and he would actually move the Ouija board and do stuff. And it showed you that there is no honor among thieves, that trust is a facade, basically. And I think if you look at society as a whole, what we have now, trust is that facade. And it was hard for me to create a brethrenship with other people that felt that way about it. To me, trust is more sacred. I think to all of us it is, but we screw up sometimes. We lose touch of what that is and how important it is. Now, with those secret societies, thanks, Emily. Thank you so much, James. Thank you, Emily. 19 francs. Or pounds. I can't, I think it's pounds. Thanks, Ripson. That secret society, not all of them are secret. And I want to give a shout out to Rosicrucianism right now. I want to say, fuck yeah, y'all. You guys rule. Rosicrucianism is a little bit different. It's the belief, it's a secret society, but it has no membership. No one who's a Rosicrucian gets to go around telling other people, I'm a Rosicrucian. There's no secret handshake. There's no secret knock. There's no secret root cellar that you have to meet. You don't have to butt fuck a goat. You don't have to do whatever. You don't have to climb in a coffin and masturbate. You don't have to go through a skull and bone society bullshit. It's Rosicrucianism is basically the idea that we are here to plant wisdom, and the one who plants wisdom without credit is the one that's doing it from their heart. They're doing it as a generous leave to society. It's a subtle art. It's in its most crudest form, it's a lot like humanity is not a virus stickers that people have been placing on places. I'm not saying it's fully right up there with Rosicrucianism, but here's why. It's anonymous. No one knows who's placing these stickers up. it doesn't actually benefit. Okay, it actually does benefit the person himself. But what I mean is that the person who's putting that up isn't getting direct pranic feedback from everyone who sees it. Instead, it's a blossom it's a rose that's been planted in the world, and it's waiting for someone to find it. And when someone finds that rose, they are elevated. They are, humanity's not a virus. That's really interesting. And they end up being indoctrinated into this same secret society without ever really knowing it. They are now on a quest to do the same. So the ultimate Rosicrucian act would be to leave enlightenment somewhere in such a way, where not only would someone feel enlightened, but they would take up the task and pay it forward. Geocaching is a lot like this same kind of motif that you have. It's a selfless secret society. It's very similar to the Illuminati, if it's not the same thing. And I can't believe how much I'm talking about the Illuminati. I cannot believe how much I'm talking about it lately. I can't believe what I said yesterday to George Bush. I thought of that last night in bed. I was like 1,000 points of light. Can't believe I said that. It's like the things that I see just in talking about this are from personally, I find it like, man, how did I even get there? How could I even find that way of looking at it? But when you look around at the tenets, at least of Rosicrucianism, you see something different happening. You see a healthy encryption and decryption of secrets, breadcrumbs that have been left along the trail for others to find, encoded in literature, encoded in architecture, encoded in what the king wears, encoded in the battle flags, encoded in the writings of Shakespeare. You're finding this code that's been left behind by a faceless person that cares about you. They care about your future and about what's going to stimulate you in a healthy way. And it's hard to find that kind of love out there in the world, especially today. You can find, I will love you if you give me this money. You will be loved if you earn this status. If you complete this task, we will love you at work. If you buy this house, we will love you at home. Your neighbors will love you more if you compete with the Joneses. Everything is transactional, but on a personal basis. And this Rosicrucianism, which I would say is Illuminatiism in the same way, is doing that from a detached perspective. And the reason why I'm saying all this, actually before I get to this big point, I want you to understand that is encryption. They have encrypted wisdom. They've encrypted wisdom, placed it in public, and made you solve it. It's a Rubik's Cube that's been left on a park bench. And you're looking around, you see no one claims it, and you're like, this is weird. Then you pick it up, and because you picked it up, there's a note underneath that says, this belongs to you now. If you'd like to solve it, it might be fun. And so you're at the park bench, and now there's no guilt. You've been given this thing. You're looking around, no one's around. Maybe you even take it home because you're kind of freaked out. Like, I don't know, this is weird. Some of you might have a COVID thing and run away. You might be like, no, fuck that. No, not even touching that. I don't trust that at all. I'm not letting that into my field. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is the beauty. This is the initiation. This is the initiation ceremony. Because it takes you having enough trust, enough aperture to see something good in the world that could be left for you. We forget how profound it is that you even had the door open. We forget that. We forget how permeable it is, how humanity itself is the only thing that breeds this permeability. This, hey man, don't build barnacles over your sonar. Don't keep yourself wide open. Wear clothes in public. but let the breeze in. Allow for the breeze to come in. And finding that Rubik's Cube on the park bench is doing that. By you picking it up. Whether you admit it or not, you've just been initiated into a secret society. It's profound. It's profound because we think everyone would pick it up, and they don't. So, you pick it up, you take it home, you solve it. You solve one side. You're like, holy shit, I've got an entire side read. That's amazing. You are now in this level 1 of this secret society. And if you were to meet someone else out in the public, if you were to see signs or footprints of someone else who's solved red, you would have an instant bond. And what that bond would look like is there's an electrical opening in your field now that connects you to them. You've created, check it out, you've created a freaking firewall, an SSL connection. That's when you see the lock on your browser window if you're entering your credit card. You've created an SSL connection to the next guy who also solved red or even yellow. He's got his yellow side solved. You've got your red side solved. Whether you know it or not, you have a kinship. You have a trust that's been forged with him. And the reason why you forged that trust, you may not be consciously aware of it, but the reason why is because both of you initiated by picking it up to begin with. It's not even the solving it. It's that you both initiated by picking it up. You recognize that and you build trust from it. It becomes a secret that you guys have in plain sight. It becomes a method that you can align with. And as each time you solve another piece of this puzzle, it's giving you a giant truth of the world that you didn't know before. Or it's convincing you of how evil the world is and how it's important that you mail $1.99 to this address and receive your amulet of protection. See, it's going to work just like a hammer. It's going to work both ways. Guys, what we're dealing with is that we've always assumed that lies, evil, secret societies, and elite are nothing but evil. That's all they can be. And if you're still here watching, what you've done is you've come up to the park bench and you've seen the same Rubik's Cube that I have. And you weren't afraid. You picked it up anyway. And I need you to understand how difficult it is to find an architecture, to find a device, a widget that you could leave on a park bench for someone else that you've never met that would see that Rubik's Cube and automatically start playing with it. And once they solve it aside, feel a goodness about themselves. Feel a hope. I can't believe you use the word hope. But feel a sense of communion with the world, that there are good people out there in it. It's giving you an electrical charge, a pranic electrical charge now is surrounding that. That Rubik's Cube becomes a talisman, an amulet now that you can keep. You gain power from it every time you look at it. Even if you can't solve side number 2, you're still in the club. You still feel this kinship, that there's something more to the world, that not everything is out there is evil. The Rubik's Cube is building 7. It's building 7. Some of you guys listen to me at double speed because your lives are so busy. So I will say it slower. Building 7 is that Rubik's Cube. It is an initiation into Rosicrucianism. And I'm not talking about a formal society. You're not going to need a doily with a rose on it. You're not going to need to buy a fucking stained glass window and put it above your door. Those are posers. Those are fucking posers. I'm talking about what happens inside. The decryption that happens inside when you look at Building 7. You have picked up that cube. You've picked it up and you see the note that, or you see the conveyance that This has been left for you. Hi, I'm Building 7, and I'm here for you. I'm here to give you a hint that you should solve me. You should solve one of my sides, because if you do, something amazing is going to happen. And this is why you saw Building 7 standing, as that reporter said it had fallen. This is why you saw such a blatant beacon, a lighthouse, in the middle of the worst, dark, blackest fog you've ever seen. They built a fucking lighthouse for you. Inside the entire ceremony, the most important part was Building 7. It was crucial. In fact, Building 7 is the only building sacrificed. Because if you've been watching my stream, we are now on the bus here. Not all of you have to agree, but we are on the bus that 9/11 was a demolition, a controlled demolition, and there were no people inside. Yes, people died on 9/11. Yes. Yes, people died of COVID-19. And in 19 years from now, we will say that the COVID deaths were in the millions. We will say that. I know you're going to insist, no, we won't. We'll all know, man. We'll all know it's bullshit. No, we won't. We will say that COVID came and killed us all. And you can't help that because there's too many speakers in the fucking trees. The zeitgeist has put speakers in the trees everywhere. And each of them is a separate voice, and none of us know if that voice is anonymous, if it's computer generated, if it's real, if it's fake. We don't know. And that's why in 19 years, all of these deaths will be called COVID deaths. Just like 19 years ago. Typically 30 to 80,000 people walk through the World Trade Center. But for some reason on Tuesday at 9:30, in both buildings, we could only come up with 2,996 of them. Only, yeah, I know that sounds cruel. But listen, just do the math, guys. Just do the math. My theory is that there probably were flyers pasted all around Trade Center. There's probably even some things in the newspaper. The people that were in the building that died didn't know, or they didn't see. They saw the sign, they saw the flyer, whatever. They did it anyway. The people on the street. That's why there were explosions before it started to pancake. That's your warning shot. Get the fuck out of the way. We've been telling you this building's coming down. That's why 9/11, the towers themselves were not a sacrifice. That building was coming down anyway. It was Building 7 was the sacrifice. It was a completely functioning, working building. That someone lost a Rubik's Cube and they put it on a bench because they wanted you to take it. That was their gift to you. I know it's twisted, but that was their gift to you. Now, when you initiated with Building 7, you did like I did. You took that Building 7 home and you were like, what the fuck's up with this? This is weird. And you solved it like I did. You solved one side. And what you saw was pure red. You saw evil. You're like, I solved it. It's because they're evil. They planned this the entire time. And they killed all the people inside as a death ritual. But now there's another side. Now I want to solve the yellow side that's right next to the red side. And it's harder. It takes more work. Because every time you're turning the shit around, it breaks the red. It keeps breaking the evil side. This is a great analogy, by the way. It's breaking the evil side. It's tumbling. The cipher is breaking the red side as you're trying to solve the yellow side. And that yellow side is that they wanted you to see Building 7. And then you're struggling with that because you're like, yeah, they wanted to because they're evil and they wanted to slap us in the face with it. But they didn't want to take that many lives, so they emptied the building as much as possible beforehand. But it's still because they're evil. And because they're evil, they always want your consent to do it. This is you solving it. This is you going, if they're evil, they wouldn't care about consent. Like if you're truly evil, consent wouldn't be an issue. Oh, but James, they fear God. If you fear God, you're not evil, guys. If you fear God, your adrenals are not going to let you be evil because everything you do is going to be based on that fear. It's going to be based on the consequences of what's going to happen to you. So how the fuck does this work, James? How am I supposed to get one side all yellow and the other side all red? That seems impossible. And that's where we have to use our compassion right now. We have to say, what would be the benefit? Who would benefit by exposing all these plans? By putting their ass out there, jumping off the high dive and saying, I masturbate. What is the purpose of that? Why would a Rosicrucian go out and buy a Rubik's Cube, jumble it up, put a sign underneath it saying this is yours now, and go place it on a park bench? Why? What the hell's that all about? And that's where you're at right now. Level 1 is picking up the cube. Level 2 is solving the fact that Building 7 crashed on its own. Level 3 is solving that they wanted you to see that. That they wanted to put all of their control, all the control that's been over you for thousands of years, they're willing to risk all that just so they can give someone anonymous who they never met a free Rubik's Cube. Now, some of you guys might see this and go, this is a trap. You're like that fish dude on Star Wars. It's a trap. And you're spinning around your chair. It's a trap. And you're going to set that thing on fire. You're going to throw it out the window. And I don't blame you. If I was to blame you, if I was to try and fight you on that, you would simply say, I'm part of that too. You would say, James is an like the guy yesterday who said, James is a federal agent. She's just like, right on, man. Do you have any idea how shitty I did in the Navy? Anyway, I don't want to push you into that. I want your electrical field to be as neat as it needs to be. If you need to stay with building 1, with side 1, if you need to throw the Rubik's Cube out entirely, I see nothing wrong with that. We are all experimenting with truth here. We are all trying to solve the truth that we can with the tools that we have as best as we can. But if you start to understand that encryption is a safety mechanism, if you start to understand that people need secrets to protect themselves. I just gave you guys a talk about how Christ, man, Satan, and Lucifer is the hero's journey. I can only say that because I'm safely an internet away from each of you. Some of you would find where I work. Some of you would figure out, oh, I can complain to his employer. Luckily, I don't have an employer, but that would be your first tactic. You're hiring a Satanist, which means your corporate policy obviously approves of Satanism because this guy happened to say that Satan was on a wheel. That kind of thing. You're going to do what Ken and what Thomas Sheridan does and what others do, what I do, what you do too. Is you're going to build up that electrical field and say anyone who comes in this perimeter on this topic is a fuck nope. Right? It's a you and your horse. Fuck both of you. That's part of your defense and you should keep that because you're going to need that husk. You're going to encounter something else one day. You're going to see another Rubik's Cube. I don't know what it is you're going to see. It's part of your job as an alchemist to solve this world. Is that you're going to have to do that too. Which brings me to this point about shame and about fetish. So many people have deep core shame, and the only evidence that they see of it is their sexual fetishes. And the reason why they're not able to use them as constructively is because the shame, electrical field of shame around it is so strong that they can't find anything constructive inside of it. It's like finding the Rubik's Cube, seeing the note on the bottom, this is for you, and then getting paranoid, going, for me, that means they knew I was coming to the park today. That means they knew I was at the coffee shop this morning. That means they knew that I slept in late. Oh my God, that means they knew that I secretly get turned on by this or by that. Oh my God, I'm going to have to wear a mask now. I need to wear a mask now. And that's what the apocalypse is doing right now. It's bringing all that shame up to the surface, whether you want it or not. I don't even know how it works. I've been saying it's the sun. I don't know. It could just be the mass zeitgeist racing. It could just be that. It really could. I don't know. But I'm talking to you personally right now. I'm speaking to you personally, as if there weren't 300 people watching, as if no one would ever record this or see this. I'm talking to you personally right now. There is shame inside your body that you needed to create a husk. You needed that for your identity. And whether that shame is legitimate or not, it's been an important part of making you who you are. It's been waiting for you the whole time. The shame that you feel right now has been a Rubik's Cube that's been next to you the entire time. And there's not one thing in the world ever more valuable than that shame right now. Because that shame is going to unpack you. You're going to be able to use that shame and figure out, if I really, really like asphyxiation, if I really like to be choked during sex, what does that tell me about myself? What does that tell me about my past, about something that I went through? If I really have a sexual fetish for exhibitionism, what is it about being caught? What is it about being exposed that I'm worried about? If I have a sexual fetish for what's not socially acceptable, maybe it's being gay, maybe, or certain activities, like sodomy or something like that. What is it about me finding pleasure in core shame? What is that Rubik's Cube trying to tell me? And what you're going to find that when you decrypt something, when you encrypt something, you're planting bones in a tomb. You're filling it full of gold, the most beautiful tapestries you've ever found, left from your childhood. You're building this time capsule for yourself. And as the shame builds up, it's just like Parthenia. It's interesting, but when you don't masturbate, you build up Parthenia in your body. And that Parthenia makes a good book. It makes a garden. It makes a painting. It makes a song. It makes a wonderful joke. Whatever it is. The shame is the same kind of energy. These fetishes that you may or may not have are parts of the Rubik's Cube that are giving you clues as to how to solve them. And the key to solving them is to understand all a fetish is, at least in the word we're talking about. What a fetish truly is something that you thought you needed to survive that was taken away from you. If you think that you needed oxygen to survive and it was taken away from you, you're probably going to have a sexual fetish about asphyxiation. If you did something wrong as a child and you didn't get caught, you did not get caught, you probably have a sexual fetish about exhibitionism. I want you to apply the exact same lessons that we've been applying to 9/11 and to Building 7, and even into evil itself, talking about Lucifer and Satan and all the other stuff. I want you to take those same aperture lessons that we've been working on and look deep in your heart. And you're gonna the first thing you're gonna tell yourself is these things aren't me being broken. These things are me being me. It's an outer husk that I formed so I could sense who I was. And not only did it give me the sanctity, the crypt, right? You're burying a crypt under Egypt in the Valley of the Kings. You're burying this shame, this fetish. You're hiding it from everyone. You're building up the value of that over time. The value of this shame unlocked right now after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. The value of that shame that you unlock now is like, it's glowing with mana. It's glowing for a desire to find light and be resolved. This is not a lecture on you should never have secrets. This is a lecture on showing you how vitally important they've been for you to survive as an individual and be where you are right now. Your past has been unencrypted. It's been unlocked, right? The zipper of time now is a zipper. And it goes up and down in time. And as you zip down, as your zipper unfolds, that's the past. It's the why. It's showing you the world. But everything below the zipper is still decrypted. It's still locked in. You can't see what's inside it yet. And I've used this analogy of the cleavage. The beauty of the universe is unzipping that right to the cleavage. And you see this beautiful, amazing cleavage. That's the apocalypse right there, guys. Richie from Boston sees this as a butt cheek. He's like, this is awful. These are two butt cheeks, and we're going to get shit on. But you can look at those same humps as the cleavage of truth, with the hardest, bumpiest nipples you've ever seen, just teeming to get out. And the more anticipation you do on unzipping that, the harder it gets. I'm talking about the more titillating it gets, the more exciting it becomes. And now we are on that final push. Now we are in that marathon in the final stretch. And now's the time where you can find that extra boost to finish that last mile, which is so hard. You can find that extra boost right now by doing what I'm talking about. Looking at the shame, looking at the fetishes, looking at the things that you were most ashamed about. And I only use the word sexual here. It doesn't have to always be sexual. You will have a fetish for collecting things. You will have a fetish for food. You will have a fetish for running. You will have a fetish for good or bad. The reason why it's mostly often sexual is because your sexual fetish is going to be your inner core. It's going to be the one that's on the most inside. And we live in a society where we don't talk about that the most. That's going to be your core one, because as you're growing up, as I was learning about puberty, no one told me what masturbating meant because it was too embarrassing for them. So I was never able to have a healthy look at that word presented in an outside way. I was told to look it up in the dictionary, which means I had to go inside myself and open the dictionary and learn about that. All of your fetishes, all of your fantasies are the same way. These are massive opportunities to see some serious side boob right now and to take that zipper down even farther. This is the golden age for you right now. And as things are collapsing around you, don't follow that. Pick up the cube. See what it's got for you. Because it's good stuff. In a way, these fetishes are panic rooms that we've built. We've dug these panic rooms. We've been prepping. And now's the apocalypse. Now's the time to go down into that panic room and start pulling some Ritz crackers off the shelf and say, what the fuck is going on? What is all of this really about? And when you start to unlock that, all of your addictions fall. They crumble to ash. Like the skeleton people. You break the spell and they just turn into a pile of bones again. Use your shame as a cipher. Just as we used evil to unlock Building 7, use your shame as a way to untumble that crypt. And find out what it's hiding for you. Because it'll be beautiful. All it's going to do is help. This is the perfect time to end this. I'm also losing a little audience, and I think that that's always a good sign to show me. How do we get rid of these demons? A demon is something, the demon is something that you've demonized. Therefore, to get rid of it, you need to apply compassion to it. Not consent. Not consent, but a compassion to it. That's how you get rid of that. You don't even get rid of it. What you're doing is you're applying light to it. You know, when you get a cut, the first thing you do is you cover it. Why? Because you don't want to see it. You don't want to see that. You're like, I don't want to see the bleeding. I don't want to see the bleeding. It's your way of abandoning it. You're abandoning the cut by covering it up. And how do you not abandon a cut? You open your eyes and you look at the bleeding. You inspect the scar. You determine what you need to do to fix it. And that's all it takes. Some of you guys have been asking, well, how do you... Actually, we'll save that. We'll save that. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. And thanks for listening today. Think again about encryption. Sorry if that was too boring about blockchain, let me know, because I'll hear you. It's a rough topic. But it's part of the same science that I really, really want us to grasp. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling here. Embrace your demons, Patton, yes, but actually realize they were never demons the whole time. The furthest thing you're going to be able to push away from you, just like Ken can say you're a stupid flat earther, therefore you're a mile away, to call something a demon is to push it like 20 miles away. That's literally the definition of to demonize something. It's literally a part of how all this works. So, enjoy Wednesday. Go out and prosper. Jump off a high dive and scream you masturbate if that's what it takes. I don't recommend it, but it might work for some of you guys. Stopping stream now.